So let's take a look at the morning's papers then, shall we? Here with me today to review them is the former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and here in the studio with me is broadcaster Pete Price. You may be able to tell that he's just back from holiday, looking very tanned this morning. Morning to both of you. Nice to see you both.
It's fabulous to be here. Hi, Dawn, and how are you? And I just kissed you on the cheek. Sorry about that. It wasn't on the lips, so it was on the cheek.
No real controversy there. Let's crack on, shall we? Dawn, you've picked out the Daily Star's front page today, and this image is across a lot of them, and I suspect we'll be seeing a lot of it. This is the first mugshot by a former president, Donald Trump, of course.
Absolutely, and it is on literally every page. Weirdly, apart from the Daily Mail today, which is strange, but they have got the picture of their very own Boris Johnson on there, so I guess they're quite similar looking, aren't they? But yeah, this is the mugshot, as you pointed out, the first former president to be captured in a jailhouse mugshot. It was taken at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta, where Donald Trump was up on his fourth indictment, and this one is 96 charges, I think, altogether. Not just him, 18 co-defendants, racketeering, and charged with attempting to overturn results of the 2020 election. So pretty similar with everything else that's been charged with, to be honest with you. But it's the mugshot, Anna. It's this mugshot that everybody is talking about. This was taken, it's the first mugshot he's had. He's always avoided it before. He also had his fingerprints taken and had to just, well, I thought he'd been weighed and it was his official weight, but evidently he gave the weight over to the jail. And I think he might have lied about it, to be honest with you.
I think one of the papers picks up on that, don't they? On the front page, they kind of say, one of their headlines is he really under 16 stone or something?
Yeah, he's supposed to have lost 2 stone in weight. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah. And I think he's gained a few inches in height as well, which is even more of a medical miracle. But, I mean, the thing is with this, Anna, it's a very brooding stare, and it's either the sinister scowl of a monster or a steely-eyed defiance. And Trump being Trump, I mean, the man, regardless of what political side you're on, the man is utterly incredible. He really thinks he's invincible. As soon as his mugshot was taken, he put it on Twitter, now X, which he wasn't on for a while. He's got his own social media platform. But he put it on there with the caption, "No surrender," and a website link where he's raising funds for himself by selling T-shirts and merchandise with this mugshot on. Yes, you can buy a mugshot on a mug. And in 3 hours, this post on social media, on Twitter X, it's got 36 million views and 530,000 likes. And the thing is, Anna, the more Trump gets indicted, the more charges against him, the more his popularity goes up. He's 45 points clear of his nearest Republican rivals. It is quite an astonishing phenomenon. But as Trump himself once said, he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot people, and he would still be popular. The man is incredible.
Do you think that's right, Pete? I mean, it's an extraordinary shot, isn't it? And one that he is, I mean, it's been called by one of the papers, I think, the mugshot money spinner, because he's using it to say, look, I'm being persecuted here, give me some funds to help me in my campaign.
Let's talk about the shot as well. I'd love to know how many times it was taken, because they don't. When you go in, you have your photo taken, that's it. But I reckon he's posed. I believe he's had people helping him to stand. This is the way you look. If you want to get your presidency back, I would love to know what is behind the photo and how many times. No, come on, guys, that doesn't work. Do it again. I believe that will have happened. And behind the whole story is the scariest man on this planet, next to Putin. That's how much he frightens the life out of me. And these people that don't believe he can do any wrong, and all this business when he says about false news, and he is unbelievably out of control and believes everything he says and writes about himself.
Yeah, and really interesting to see what effect it does have on voters. And certainly doesn't seem to be changing his core base of support.
Which is frightening, which is really frightening.
Let's move on, shall we? You wanted to pick up, Pete, on the front page a story for the Daily Mail, and this is a really sad story, isn't it?
It's a terrible story. A father was killed after dog napping targeted his Labradoodle in a terrifying daylight burglary. Donald Patience was found at his home after the police had found he was dead. They've stolen the dog worth £1,000. They reckon they get £1,500 for it. He was a father adored by his children, and they're absolutely heartbroken. What is scary behind this whole thing is the whole dog napping around the world, not just this country, and now this has taken it to another level, that somebody has died stealing his dog. They found the dog. It really is, it's quite frightening. Are we now living in a world where we can't own anything anymore without somebody wanting to steal it? He evidently must have put up, I mean, there'll be more to come out on the story, he must have put up a fight to stop them taking his dog and to kill the man over his pet. You know, and I know with my radio show, people love their animals more than they love human beings, an awful lot of people. And this is a dreadfully sad story.
It is, isn't it, Dawn? And I mean, we don't know for sure what the motivation was, but they suspect that's the reason behind it. And we don't know too much about the circumstances, but a real tragedy, this. And it does highlight, as Pete was saying, that there are some pedigree dogs now, or even some crossbreeds, which are very popular and will command some money on the market.
Yeah, as Pete said, it's an incredibly sad story, and this was a £1,000 designer Labradoodle, and it's a lovely dog, and you know, it was as Pete just said, Anna. You know, people love their animals so much. Okay, it was a designer dog; it's worth a lot of money, but it was this man's beloved pet as well. So we don't know the full details of what actually happened in that house, and 3 men have been arrested now. But it's just he must have put up one hell of a fight to end up being murdered. I mean, it's just the most shocking story. But as Pete's already alluded to, that the fact now that crime detection rates in this country for most crimes are so low, we're almost becoming lawless, where people feel they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. So to break into someone's home and try and, well, we think that's what happened, and try and steal a dog. But, you know, I had a friend who was walking their dog, one of those cute little teddy bear type dogs, in a park the other day, and someone just literally snatched the lead and the dog out of her hand and ran off. Just walking in the park in mid-daylight. I mean, thankfully she's got it back, but it's horrific. It's horrific where we are with this at the moment.
My friends now with their dogs, I've got a lot of friends with dogs, are absolutely terrified of going out with the dog now and walking the dog because of what Dawn just said. It is really scary because people are living in a world now where they don't care. It was like when, well, they're still doing it, when they snatch watches. You see a watch and they just don't care. They go and do it. And this story will frighten dog owners even more so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Dawn, take us to the Daily Telegraph now, because the Lucy Letby case is still making headlines. The Telegraph has spoken to 2 more families who are concerned that perhaps their children were targeted by her.
Yeah, I mean, Anna, it's just the most heart-wrenching story, and you know, we've all been covering this story all week, and your heart goes out to those grieving families. When obviously Lucy Letby was a neonatal nurse who had been found guilty of murdering 7 tiny babies, the most defenceless people in our society. And the Telegraph have, well, I don't know if they come to them or not, but two more women who fear that their babies were also targeted by Lucy in that neonatal unit in the Countess of Chester Hospital. One lady, Emily Morris, she lost her 1-month-old baby, and she said, like, you know, Lucy had actually signed the notes, the baby's notes, and actually signed a card congratulating the baby when it achieved a milestone. And, you know, there are 4,000 cases that detectives are looking into across the 2 hospitals that Lucy was working in. And you just can't imagine, obviously the horror of losing your child in a neonatal unit is horrible. But then to find out a few years, as in many of the cases this was, that your baby was actually murdered instead. So, you know, these poor people have come forward and, you know, they said, we don't believe we've had the justice. Now, Rishi Sunak has called for an inquiry, but Anna, we have inquiries simply every day now. They want it to be a statutory inquiry, which means the people running the hospital can be summoned to give evidence. And I think that's where this part has to stop. I mean, Tony Chambers, the Countess of Chester's former chief executive, was accused of shutting down concerns, basically of putting the reputation of his hospital before those tiny babies' lives. He was paid up to £80,000 for the trust just before he resigned. It's a heartbreaking story, and Anna, these two ladies that have come forward. And the thing is, these stories, they were one had a poor grasp of English because she was foreign, and the other one had learning difficulties. So their evidence and their cases haven't been heard by anyone, you know, by the police or the legal system yet. And you just hope and pray there aren't too many more families out there who are thinking, hold on a minute, what happened to our baby? It's just the most horrific story.
As Dawn said, 4,000 people are worried now what has happened to their children. I live up north. I live near Chester. The atmosphere is dreadful. People are so ashamed, as if it's disbelief when you go past the hospital. It's just horrendous.
It shocked the area.
It's horrendous.
Shocked the nation as well. Pete and Dawn, we're out of time, but we will see you both in the next hour. Thanks so much.